Hey Busters, I'm back. So away at the moment, which is why there's different room and lights probably a bit different, that kind of thing. But I thought, what's the best thing to do for a guy who's all on his own in a different place? Have a rank. So I thought while I'm away, I'll do a few more ranking videos. Always good to knock a few out while you can. And yeah, so I'm going to move this episode to Mos Def, now known as Yasin Bey. Probably more known for his film work than he is his rap stuff before. New York artist who kind of helped usher in the conscious rap movement in the late 90s, early 2000s. For the past decade or so, hasn't really put out as much. But for what he did, he certainly was a breath of fresh air in many aspects to what hip hop was going through, and certainly led the way in many of the newer styles of hip hop. And one of my favourite artists, and also has got a very short discography. There's some collaborative projects which I'm not going to include. I'm just going to focus on solo albums. It's easier to do it that way. So yeah, let's get through it. So I'm going to start. So 4 albums to get through. So number 4, The New Danger, released in 2004. Second solo album to be released after a bit of a break from the debut. Was doing some more film work, sort of get his name established in Hollywood a little bit. And yeah, it's a long album. It's an experimental. It was sort of classified as experimental at the time, and why people probably didn't give it a lot of attention at the time. I mean, it charted well, but it kind of dropped off fairly soon after. Um, but yeah, so the overall feel of the album appears to be Mos Def trying to harken back to older rock blues kind of styles with more jamming, live instrumentation. He's kind of formed a band on the project, and so there's 19 tracks in total, including a bonus track. Um, some of them are A couple of them are just little short things. Some of them are fairly long, and I think this comes down to the sort of jam nature of the project. So a lot of the times the songs are spent on Mos Def kind of singing his way through things or ad libbing through stuff. And the music is fine. It comes out as very different to a lot of stuff that's going on at the time, and Mos Def's a decent enough singer. There's not a lot in terms of hip hop that people were accustomed to at the time, which is kind of again why it was seen as a bit different. And you do need quite a bit of patience to get through a lot of the songs on there. A good example being Modern Marvel, which for an experimental album you need to have a song that's 9-10 minutes long, of course. So if you can get your way through that, then well done. Stuff which works better tends to be stuff which fits more with the hip hop style that people were accustomed to at the time. It was Sunshine, a typical Kanye West track for that era, with this typical kind of Kanye West sample and drums, which most sounds very comfortable on. There's a bonus track, The Jump Off with Ludacris, which I believe was just added on there to try and give it some more commercial potential. Um, there's The Rape Over, which is a controversial remake of Jay-Z's The Takeover. There's definitely good stuff on the. Most definitely don't have a message on there if you sort of listen through. It takes a bit of a while to kind of penetrate through, but again, it is quite a long album. So if you'd rather spend your time playing Fortnite or something, I can understand. But if you do have the time to make your way through it, I'm sure there'll be stuff that you would appreciate. So, number 3. Now, this is how the album was actually released. This is True Magic. It was the album released after New Dangerous album number 3 and 3 on the ranking as well. It's end of 2006. To no real promotion, no real album cover or notes or anything. So it kind of went under the radar a little bit, and some people felt that it was a bit rushed. It does suddenly feel more like a mixtape rather than an actual album, with songs like Crime and Medicine and Dollar Day being essentially remakes of Jizz's Liquid Swords and Juvenile's Nola Clap, respectively. But Mos Def still definitely brings lyrics on there. It's only more of a hip hop album than the previous one was, even though it does still have its experimental feel to it in several places. Dollar Day being one of the highlights of the album, so using a beat from a New Orleans rapper/rap group to discuss Hurricane Katrina and the effects of that on New Orleans and the black community. Darker songs on there, such as Thug is a Drug, the eerie Murder of a Teenage Life, a collaboration with the Neptunes. One of the darker songs that those have produced together. And there are certainly bits of it which may feel a little bit unfinished or rushed, but it's not a particularly long project, and the stuff that is on there works fairly well, and it certainly has it has its underground feel to an extent, but its heart's in the right place. It's discussing a lot of the right things about the black experience, and songs like talking about how much the gangster image can be so appealing to young black people who may not have much else to go for in their lives. So the song Thug is a Drug again, so another one of those highlights there. Definitely works well over the 14 tracks that it has. Number 2, to put it on my phone, I'm afraid, because I haven't got the physical copy. But there is an album cover. It's the Ecstatic. Continuing to go along in the timeline, this was the album released after True Magic, so the 4th album, so the most recent solo album that Mos Def has released. This was in 2009. And it's kind of seen as a bit of a return to form, and it certainly does feel a lot like that in many ways. It manages to maintain a lot of its hip-hop style with the experimental tendencies that Mos Def uses. Again, was a bit of interesting for people to refer to the New Dangerous experimental album, because if you go through Mos Def's albums, you see that they are generally quite experimental anyway. And certainly on the Ecstatic, there's samples used from all over the world: Brazil, Turkey, Middle East. So it has more of a worldly feel. There's more of more discussions about world politics on there as well, like with the track with Slick Rick, The Auditorium. There's also a collaboration with Talib Kweli on a Jay Dilla produced track, which kind of brings in the more hip hop style of the album, brings those two together for the first time in a while, and brings them together. The more, I suppose, commercial sounding song on the album, Life in Marvelous Times, certainly the most hard hitting song on the album, which kind of looks at how, even though things don't always seem that great in your experiences, the way that things are happening to you at the time, the world that we are living in at the time is still marvelous, because you can see it as marvelous times. And yeah, say it hits very hard as a song. Generally, there's shorter songs on there. One where Mos Def just sings in Spanish, basically. So yes, it has its experimental tendencies, which makes it different from a lot of other hip hop albums. But everything that Mos Def uses on the album, all the different samples, all the different styles, marry together well with everything that he's putting together. So none of the songs feel out of place particularly, or like they fell flat or anything. So it works well as an overall project. So we now come to number one. The debut has to be the debut, doesn't it? Black on Both Sides. Release 1999, so 10 years before the Ecstatic, the debut album after releasing the Black Star album with Talib Kweli. So people who were aware of this new emerging style of hip hop were very excited and anticipating this album, and as such, it may not have made the biggest dent on the charts, but it's certainly very well received, and it does kind of stand the test of time as the best album, really. Because he started with the experimental hip hop, while still maintaining a very hip hop style on it. So even with the live instrumentation, the samples are still fairly in-house in country, but the topics are worldly. Even though they discuss a lot of American issues, they still do feel like they could be from anywhere in the world. Songs like New World Water, looking at water as kind of a metaphor for politics and democracy, as was kind of early predicting issues like the Flint water crisis in America. Talib Kweli is on there as well, along with Busta Rhymes. Highlights includes rock and roll, a discussion about old black rock artists and blues artists, which influenced a lot of the later white rock artists, who perhaps got more credit than the black artists did. So exploring that. There's a collaboration with Vinia Mojica, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She's on a lot of the Raucous stuff, and I still don't know how to pronounce the name, but I believe that's it. The Climb, which is a singing duet, which again most shows that he is actually quite a good singer. There's the song with Q-Tip. If you have the album, you know which one I'm talking about. Brooklyn, which brings around the New York upbringing, using a Biggie Smalls sample for one point. There were going to be other New York samples on there as well, from I think Mob Deep as well. I suppose sampling didn't work out. And yeah, overall, you know, is a strong project which really works well in today's era and can still be looked at as an influence to modern hip hop and modern hip hop artists. Um, Certainly, newer artists can take a lot away from a project like that. Newer listeners can take away a lot from a project like this. So, if you want to explore any conscious hip hop, there's certainly a good discography to get through to start. It'll certainly open your ears to a different style that you may not be used to so much, and overall, a great set of albums. So, thank you for listening. I will try and get a few more out while I'm here. So, we'll hopefully see you very soon.